Leo here at your service. Welcome to another episode of MLBB Around the World. Talking about teams competing at MSC 2025 in the Esports World Cup. MLBB Around the World is powered by ASUS ROG. In this episode, we're talking about the underdog teams in MSC. For this episode of MLBB Around the World, I got two very special guests to help us get to know the teams that I consider underdogs. We have here LATAM's very own, one of their first English casters, Vaye, and of course, the Florida man himself, NACT's Trex.
Okay, hello everybody. My name is Vaye. I'm from Indonesia. Currently casting for MPL LATAM and Trex. I'm the English desk caster there.
That's Mr. Florida Man to you, aka Trex, aka Mr. Wagner, here from NACT, ready to talk about some quote-unquote underdog teams.
Mr. Wagner, Mr. Trex. I missed out on that. I guess it's just, I thought I earned the last name basis that we're on. Okay, so the reason why I consider them underdogs is because these teams are either from developing regions or from regions who have arguably fallen off in the past couple of years in terms of MLBB esports, how do I say, competitive history, right? Trex, you were there when the Valley went deep in M4, and
Deep.
Vaye, I think you looked into the history of MPL LATAM, even in MPL Brazil, as far back as that. You've seen the members of RRQ Akira spread out, and there was a time when we thought they could beat the likes of Onyx Indonesia.
Yeah. It was kind of sad to see them separate though, but at the end of the day, they kind of rejoiced together with Bigatron Suns players. So we can talk about that later on.
Yeah, so what we're gonna do here is we'll run through these teams real quick. I want this to be a surprise to y'all, which teams are considered underdogs. So we'll start with the first team. Even if they do have the home court advantage, we are playing in the Middle East. The main card representative coming out of MPL MENA, the Season 7 champions. Let's talk about Ultra Legends. They qualified last June 1st, 2025. And despite the lower bracket climb, they went 3-2 against Twisted Minds, another big name out of MPL MENA. They went 4-1 against Team Falcons.
Yeah, I think just overall it's a pretty cool story. I've always felt myself as a storyline guy, and we've only ever really seen either Twisted Minds or Team Falcons be the teams that kind of dominate MENA overall. Personally, because I don't follow that hard, I've never even heard of Ultra Legends, and so I do some research on them. They're able to beat Twisted Minds. They take the loss to Team Falcons 2-0 upper bracket, just get stomped essentially. And then when they finally meet them in the grand finals, it's a 4-1. So we're already seeing like the ability to adapt, the ability to learn from mistakes, the ability to when it's crunch time, turn on the lights a little bit. So I think if there's a time where I'm a little excited to see MENA, to see something fresh from MENA, this is definitely going to be it.
For me, is that I'm actually pretty happy to see a new name pop up. Especially they get to secure a win, right, and actually a ticket to see. So I'm actually pretty stoked to see like new talents coming in. Also, some players that let MSC be a stage for them to play and also contest with others.
New talents are the keyword here, and you're right, Trex, you're not wrong to assume that you've never heard of them, because Ultra Legends is a debut team in MPL MENA Season 7. Some of them are MPL MENA veterans, maybe half of the main squad, but yeah, no, the name Ultra Legends, that squad, they're Egyptian, is completely new. Again, one of the final calls, very iconic to me, by Realize in that 5-game best of 7 is 5 randoms make their like, I mean, you're not wrong, like they kind of are,
Not wrong, but not right at the same time.
Again, he got his emotions got the best of like, but no, that's the vibe here. That's the vibe here. The finals MVP was Rise Crim, the roamer, so the playmaker, the chip in that game 5, and then the regular season MVP, or at least the player who had the most MVP awards, was Throwboy, and then out of the playoffs, Pharaoh, their gold laner, dude. With a name like Pharaoh, you gotta be something, right? At least in MENA. He stepped up, and this goes with my theory, which I mentioned in the past episode of MLBB Around the World, is MPL MENA still feels like the region of gold laners. Like their meta over there is like, my gold laner has to win. If we don't, and we don't draft well enough to protect Pharaoh, or at least in this case, Pharaoh, then things go sideways.
I think something else industry, like speaking of draft and stuff, you take a look at like their grand finals, and Ultra Legends isn't a team to really play like the same exact composition back to back. Like game 1, game 2, literally everything changes in their draft, and they won game 1. And a lot of time when you see a team win game 1, they come back game 2 with something very similar. Like if it's not broke, don't fix it. So we're already seeing, and it just kind of goes back to that ability to evolve, ability to change things up, ability to keep themselves and the enemy team on their toes. And when I'm looking, there's a couple standout picks. We have like the Zask in mid lane that they win game 2 with. They're just, and that's something I think it goes well with being a new team, being something fresh, being, maybe dark horse material. Yes, there are some players that we know, but still just with that ability to constantly keep the wheels turning, you never know what we might see from them, on the international stage.
And for if it's for me though, I really do agree on the statement where they want to try to protect up the gold laners, because in MENA, actually from last year, trying to like search around what happens around the world, for me it's quite unique to see a Yushin pop up here and there, but a Melissa also. So it's kind of unique to see, because it was brought up in the playoffs, which match specifically I kind of need to recheck on that. But highlighting on the gold laners though, for me, since they do have that few unique picks that they can bring up, so it kind of just gives MENA a little bit of the unique point instead of like the other regions where you right now you want to try to focus on probably shifting to the chunky, tanky junglers and hypers assassin junglers. So with shifting of that, bringing up and highlighting some marksmen that are unique is pretty good for me.
Yeah, it came out in the lower bracket final. That's what makes Ultra Legends such a threat, is they were willing to play around with the Melissa, took it to game 5, and then won in
5.
Yeah, and then won in 10 minutes. So they lost with the Melissa and then ended in 10 minutes. So again, that's how mechanically confident they are. And that makes you wonder, like, are they really just 5 randoms? Like, there's no way a random would do that unless they were like the protagonist in hiding. Like they were the promised one. They were Jon Snow from season 6 of Game of Thrones. But that's another story entirely. If you guys have more bits to share about Ultra Legends that we may have missed out on, I'm talking to our MPL MENA fans out there who really follow these teams and these leagues. Go into the comments below. We're moving on to our next underdog team. Now, you're allowed to argue if they are underdogs to you, but I think China's still on the way. The China qualifier champion here for MSC is none other than DFY. Vaye, can you help me, please? Like, how do you say that whole name?
巅峰妖怪.
There you go. That's.
What was that?
巅峰妖怪.
Does that mean anything? Is that a proper name or is it like a word?
I think it's a proper name for the team, right? But I know a part of the word that Yao Kuai usually in old Chinese folklore it can also mean monster, but I have to like look it directly on their Chinese characters, because so far that we've been logo and it's DFYG, right? So gotta look into that first.
Right.
Yeah.
May have gotten lost.
But so far I know that
may have gotten lost in translation. Might have just meant the same or sound the same, but yeah, no. They are one of the big names out of Chinese MLBB, and they qualified last 15th of June 2025. They took it all the way, 5 games against Rare Atom. We talked about Rare Atom in the last episode, but something to note is DFYG actually stomped their upper bracket finals. So to make it here, well, they had a weird bracket system. It wasn't really an upper bracket finals. It was just, their way there. They stomped the young. They 3-0'd the young, and then they found themselves in the finals. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about the FYG.
For me, it's quite unique to see because I'm happy to see that probably some China teams are actually open to like bringing in Indonesian players or probably some Filipino players. I don't know about the coach though, but I'm just happy to see like bringing in some new colors or probably more experienced player in growing regions of MLBB so they can learn for themselves too. So when you're talking about Rare Atom and there's some Indonesian players or probably MPL players that are already there. So far, their playing style kind of evolves. That. So knowing that there are some experienced players as their pillar, so they can just like kind of shift through that and try to keep up also. So I'm pretty happy to see that too.
I think something interesting about DFYG is they've made it to international. I think whether it's wild card or main slot, they've made it all the way back from last MSC. They were main slot in MSC, they were wild card in Worlds, and I remember looking at them in Worlds and being like, oh, a lot of us felt like maybe they should have been the team that was on the main slot. They performed so well in wild card, but the group they were in was literally just like the group of death. And then now they're back to the main slot. Taking a look at their drafts, they're a team that's like, pretty by the book. They don't get too crazy. A little bit earlier in playoffs, we saw some Benedettas, like they got a little bit of spice to them, to the point where then we were seeing Benedetta bans in the grand final. So I'm guessing this might be either a China special pick, like a China specialty, or one of these two team specialties, but it's something to look at. I think this is a region overall that as they get better, I think they're going to be disciplined, right? They're going to be close to something of what we see from Filipino play style, a discipline, a little bit aggressive in the current meta. The only worry I have with them is 3 games out of all of their playoffs went over 20 minutes. We haven't seen them really go the long haul, and can they hold that discipline against a strong team like the Philippines, Indonesia, that's keeping themselves at pace and running to 22 minutes where it's maxed items and there's no lead. And I think that's what we're going to have to see from DFYG, because I think it's where we've seen them lose in past internationals against good teams that can go the distance.
Even NA, like you slack around in NA, you can get punished. So it's not just the C teams that like to play around and then find those loopholes. One thing to say about the Chinese region, specifically about DFYG here too, they have an Indonesian import, a Filipino import, Malaysian coaching staff. At some point, I can imagine KLVJ, Coach Sasa, Coach Long, please, I don't want to play Esmeralda. All right, cool. We lock in the Esmeralda. 5 games in a row. Okay. So, this early on in their lifespan as a ecosystem, as a region, they're already playing on the international scale. Like they're already like one team. What is that? 3 or 4 nationalities. I'm a big fan of it. I don't know. What do you guys think about that? Because I think that'll definitely help to catch them up.
Okay, if it's for me, I'm a big fan of them wanting to learn more from experienced players and also coaches staff that I've mentioned before. But to me though, I kind of want to argue to that, because even though they already have experienced players, they're playing on the Chinese server that only has like 75 heroes. So, and also a later patch, a previous patch than the global server also. So it's like a 2 or 3 months different than what it's going on here. Yeah, I had to relearn the patch when I was Super Cup. So
you were time traveling. You were time traveling. Oh,
yeah. It's me flipping out my binder and reminiscing of like, oh yeah, this was back then. Wait, this is here. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
It went to that.
I always said, Trex, you remember, I said, give China 6 months after they get proper server, after they get current server, and then we'll talk.
Yeah.
The fact that they're able to still perform don't get me wrong, they're not exactly like top 8 material just yet, at least in past internationals. We never know what's going to happen in this one. But just for how well they have performed, the games they've taken off of certain teams, and the fact that they are playing on old patch. I mean, we're seeing they're running on 3 bans in their playoffs. It's just a little bit different. I think that having that multi-international players, coach staff, and everything is a huge advantage to them when they come into the international stage, because they have the opportunity to get intel. They have the opportunity to know what's going on in these other regions. It's true though, you know, if I got a Malaysian coach staff, I'm sure he is messaging, you know, he's watching these other things. He knows what's going on in other regions. And I'm not saying that every team doesn't do that, but still you bring a little piece of each of those regions in. I think it was something that definitely kind of sparked the big fire. And I'm not saying that China will the teams that always dominate will be these international teams, but just bringing that in to play against other teams that are full Chinese, et cetera, is huge. And it's one of the things that I think is kind of catapulting China into the front of stage, possibly.
Yeah, I think it really is just the game itself. Like, as soon as they decide that China is ready and we're, you know, gonna share that server, at least the patch, then, you know, who knows? There's no turning back. That's Pandora's box we're looking at. The whole import situation is proven because their MVPs in the finals were literally Super Ken and KLVJ. So the stats don't lie. Hoping that DFYG show us something new, because again, out of the 3 ban matches and the best of 5 in the grand finals, it was very what is that? Homogenic.
Monotone.
What is? Yeah, like it was very like just. What is that? I'm looking.
That word's too big for me.
Saturated. No, not sat. I don't know how to use Photoshop, but it looked like single. It was single note. It was one trick. Like everybody was one tricking.
Oh.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm worried about that. I'm worried about
layer.
that. Yeah.
I think it's just one layer instead of like putting in fighters or anything else. It's just all assassins.
Hayabusa.
Can they peel back the onion? Can they peel back the onion?
Yeah, exactly. Are there late? Yeah, exactly. Oh, I got it now. I think I got something that Trex would understand. They sound mono. They're not in stereo, dude.
Mono.
They were mono. They don't sound stereo. Okay, so that's our bit on DFYG again. To a level, China is a mystery. Like, that region is a mystery. We'll see how they perform on the global stage come MSC. We'll move on to our next underdog, and Vaye, we're gonna need your help here. Please do give us the lowdown on Corinthians. They are the MPL LATAM Season 3 champions. They qualified last 8th of June. You and Kronos called the action. They went all the way 4-3 against Influence Rage.
Okay, so where do I start? It's a lot. Okay, I gotta say though, for Corinthians, of course, congratulations. That's for one thing. And bringing in Jesus and also Flick is a good addition to their team. It's actually bringing them new highlight moments, of course, and also some things that they can want to learn inside of that. Because if I'm not mistaken, I think their main shot caller is Jesus. So most of the setups, most of the initiations is just from him. And Flick come in a little bit late, but goodness, his debut game in LATAM is purely a pure definition of a menace. So I gotta give it to them for that. For Influence Rage, though, on the other hand, exceeded my expectations. That's 2 words for me, because they went from last place to secure a playoff spot to runner-up.
Yeah.
And even taking some points away from Corinthians in the grand finals. It's just really amazing to.
If I'm following the brackets right, and Kronos mentioned this to me when we talked about in the last episode, Influence Rage, you and him and a good chunk of the MPL LATAM community were convinced they were going to take it. So where did Corinthians sit on that scale? Like, was Corinthians always a good second going into the playoffs, or prior to the playoffs were they the favorite?
Okay, so when I was talking about because after Flick's debut, Kronos just turned in big fan of Chef Flick, we call it there in Latam. So it was Corinthians all the way. But for me, when I love around with the, so that's why tracking a few games I actually was rooting for them in it throughout the whole season, except for the upper bracket. I kind of cursed the table the whole day on that one. So yeah, the, that's why that I said that they exceeded my expectations was because of that match. So I really thought that it'll go to like 5 games, but turns out they were able to sweep away Corinthians. So that's why that exceeded my expectations.
Yeah, I mean, overall, just Corinthians and Influence Rage, they end regular season in 3rd and 4th. And those are the 2 teams that make it to the finals. So, I mean, just, of course, not being there, I don't know exactly what happens in, regular season, et cetera, whether it was just bad days for them or whether they both kind of came in as teams that, these teams might not be the ones to make it. But the fact that they make it to playoffs, then put on a big best of 7, I think we even got a little bit of like drama in the best of 7. I saw some clips or something. so these teams bring some energy, and that's all that really matters. I think what's really cool too is, or at least what's interesting is, this is going to be a really important international for LATAM. Yes, the names of the players are familiar, but everything's kind of gotten a new paint job over there. From no more MPL Brazil, now it's a combined league with North LATAM, South LATAM, etc., and with some new names. Of course, some of the players are the same, but still with some new names of new logos, new things, new combinations of players. The question is will this make a difference? Because for me personally, LATAM has just, the hype train for me has gone down and down and down, and they've never really been a team that could get past top 8. They've made it to number 8. That's always kind of been my argument with them is, every time they fall a little short, and it seems like that shorting is just getting lower and lower. So this is a big one for them to see if the new paint job was worth it, to see if it's something that can really, if now they can do something big.
Yeah, I love how Trex is not looking within, but he's looking from outside, and that's a very valid question. Is as much as we'd love to break down the metagame and like the specific picks that Corinthians brings to the table, like how much Flick, the finals MVP, and Hesu changed the game for them, like is it gonna make a difference? Like how far can they take that when they hit the ground running in Riyadh? What are your thoughts on this, Vaye? Because I'm also asking because I'm a big fan of Luis. Like that's no question. Like me and Luis, we go way back. That's my irmão. But I back then I called him the Brazilian heartbreaker. And every time I see him, like every year, again and again, I look. I can't say it to him, but like, dude, what's happening? You're breaking my heart.
He's making the fans' hearts.
Oh, suddenly got hit. Okay, but for my first season for all this time watching ID, PH, and finally experiencing like hands-on on LATAM. Yes, I do have some heartbreaks here and there for because like some of the teams that I'm actually forcing there, and also, well, as we mentioned before, some of the RQ players and also some of the Bigatron Sun players sadly didn't get to escape relegation route. One of the teams there, and the other sadly they had a short. So that's why when my heart seeing something happen of like the playoffs ready version of the team kind of just elevates on what we've seen from regular season to relegation and then playoffs, and somehow in some way they keep on improving. Even Influence Rage was able to like catch up to 2 Filipino players like so that's why it went to like 7 games during the grand finals. I didn't expect it to be a 7 game, to be honest, but well, that happened. And again, still I'm amazed to see that they keep on learning. But if you want to go head to head with international teams, there's still a lot of things that they really need to work it out and also keep on improving for that.
Yeah, luckily, these 2 Filipino imports, as much of a focus we have on them, they are flanked by very strong veterans out of MPL LATAM. Again, I mentioned Luis. There's also Frost, a mid laner, a veteran of BTR, of DMX, of Red, and then Upa Teasy. I've met these players. Like they're all sweethearts. It's just that I wish they could put out more on the global stage. Upa was the gold laner for A7, BTR, Suns, and Red as well. So our second to the last underdog team joining this discussion is none other than the champion of MPL Singapore Season 9, Team Flash. They qualified last 8th of June 2025, sweeping RSG, gentlemen sweeping RSG 4-1 in a best of 7 after dropping to them in the upper bracket 3-1 and climbing through the lower bracket against Absolute Zero, a community team. Absolute Zero is a team that had to go through a qualifier to compete here in MPLSG, and then look how far they got. They made Team Flash bleed. Let's talk about Team Flash.
Team Flash, Singapore. I got a weird place in my heart for Singapore, man. It's like sometimes they do really well, sometimes they do very bad, and that's the thing. It's not like at least for a lot of regions, it's either like a steady, not too great, or there's a steady decline, or there's a steady up climb. But I feel like Singapore, it's like one MSC, they make it to top 8, one international, they're one of the worst teams we see. Like it's just they're very all over the place, and it's kind of hard to know exactly how they're going to come in. I think my biggest worry for Team Flash this time, I don't know how you guys feel about it, but seeing a stomp happen in the grand finals where even the 4 wins they got, everything was under 20 minutes. One of the longest wins they had was 17 minutes. It makes me wonder how we can even really, can I gauge? Does this mean they're really good? Or does this mean there's just not much to say for them right now? And, it's hard to read a 4-0. It's hard to be like, or a 4-1. Because you just don't really know what they're going to be able to bring to the international states. Their buttons weren't pressed enough.
All right. First off, is it your sentiments for Singapore or for NIP Flash specifically? I think you're just a big time nip flasher, dude.
I'm just a big. No, because RSG Singapore 2 was like back in M4 was RSG Singapore. That was my first time casting.
That was
NA, I think, stomped them.
That was 3 years ago, dude. That was
but that's
almost 3 years ago.
It's been like they're climbing. I guess what Team Flash normally does good, and then anyways, Nip Flash is nice. I like Nip Flash.
No, I think that was peak for them because that's where they hit top 8 last year, MSC 2024. Same ground, Riyadh. They made top. No, wait, no.
They look good.
Did they not make
MSC? They were playing the. I think they did make top 8 because they were playing the Martis mid lane. Wasn't that the Martis mid lane?
No. Did they not make it higher? Because I predicted they would beat. Yeah, top 4. I predicted they would beat Homeboys. They made it higher.
Yeah.
See?
So that's what I'm saying. They do really good sometimes. And then how'd they do in M6? I can't. What was their place?
That's there you go. That's all right. Yeah. You got me there.
So I just have mixed emotions with them. Like I'm always like, yeah, they're gonna do good. Oh, and then they do bad. And then I'm like, they're gonna do shit, and they do really good. So it's, that's
Is it a hot take if I say MPL Singapore is Team Flash Singapore?
No, because RSG does. I mean, I think it's been like that for the past maybe couple internationals, but like RSG has always kind of I feel like it's more RSG Flash Singapore.
Yeah.
RSG Flash.
Okay, yeah.
It would have been amazing if Absolute Zero, this new team, that would have been the real storyline I would have loved to cover here. A team like that made it, but sadly,
All right, so
it happens.
It's odd that we're discussing Team Flash by talking about their stumbles or the teams that they had to conquer to make it this far. But just to give you guys a look at who exactly Absolute Zero is, it's a squad made up of Vendetta, Nan, Bougie. These are all Singaporean players, and then get this. A Filipino gold laner by the name of Salas, no idea who he is, and Onyx PH alumni, Chef Rapidot in Rome. So this was a stacked team. Like, this is a team that wasn't playing around. This is a team that came out. They came to win. They came to play. but top 4 is the highest they got. Top 3 even. Is that 3? Yeah, top.
Yeah.
They went as far as 3.
Top three.
So, maybe you're right. Vaye, maybe you're right, Trex. The fact that you can call MPL SG, Team Flash, and RSG SG country means that a strong third or fourth is that evident. Like, you can clearly tell when someone's trying to breach into that, we're here too, but everyone else is just far off. Everyone else is just.
I mean, at this point is I gotta give it to the community. They really need to probably have more people who are interested in it, because like I know that Singapore is a hardworking country, so I can't imagine if most of players or even coaches also have day jobs while competing in tournaments like this. So probably it's finding out the balance here and there, but for them to make it up to like 3, it's still amazing to see of like what most of the teams that are trying to do it. I guess it's around that.
Yeah. I think MPL Singapore is notorious for having professional players who are, again, I hate to say it like it's such a bad word, like a 4-letter word, but they're part-timers. Like a good chunk of these pro players have day jobs or are students. And the only other region I think that have this kind of issue, I'd like to say, is MPL MENA. Like, I know a lot of MPL MENA players are part-timers. Like, they have day jobs, they have other responsibilities, and they can't focus. So that's just the nature of the beast, of what your league can provide for you and what real life demands.
I mean, I think it's a matter of priorities on where they want to set it out here and there. Because if you're talking about MENA, I actually know some of the players are still students, and some are even trying to get into medical school. So I mean, like, good for them to, of course, kudos. Same for Singapore. It will be hard if they just want to prioritize be a player or even a coach as a day-to-day basis, because they're living quite expensive in Asia.
Oh yeah, no. Singapore is it's a nice country. I like Singapore, but I don't think the pocket can take it. So here's the thing: it sounds like it's a chicken and the egg situation, right? You want the community and the players to be more dedicated, but for them to be dedicated, they have to give up something else to gain something else to make it worth it to dedicate that much. Like, it seems like it's a perpetual cycle. Trex, you make it work, man. You got like 3 or 4 jobs, dog, and you're still one of the biggest names in MLBB sports as a talent. So, what do you think? What are your takes on this?
It's hard. It's what you guys just described is literally the same as it's one of the biggest issues for I think a lot of the underdog regions. NA goes through the same exact thing. There's a handful of players that can actually commit full time to MLBB here. Maybe 5 to 10 players, probably 5 players, maybe that can actually go full time MLBB. Everyone else on the roster of NA is either in school, job, etc., etc. And yeah, I mean that's the big issue, right? Boot camps in Singapore. I mean, I'm sure there are some. It's probably Flash and RSG because they have big orgs behind them. They have some big money behind them, and that's normally the big difference. If the orgs are able to come in and actually pay players to commit, right? To wake up, scrim, eat, go to sleep. Wake up, scrim, eat, go to sleep.
Play.
So. What's that?
Play like an actual tournament. Yeah, you can't just scrim, sleep, eat like.
No, that's exactly what you do. I don't know what you're talking about. My players, there ain't no playing. But yeah, so it's the tough thing, and I think the fact that we have at least seen Singapore, it's the up and down that I describe isn't a bad thing. It's much better than just always down. So like, we know that there always is this hope with MPL Singapore. We know that they do have that dog somewhere in them. As a region, they have the possibilities. They have the MPL name tag on them. So there is some prestigeness there still. There's possibilities. So yeah, I think it's just when are they finally gonna be that guy, you know?
Yeah. I'm hoping that it's another big win. Because I can recall as far back our friends Jay's, Abstract, Churros, they all just want a big win for Singapore. Like they just want the MPLSG rep to get top 4, top 3, grand finals, champion, whatever. Like that might be enough to wake up that community, that audience, and say, "Hey, my league is worth supporting. Let's make it bigger." So that's Team Flash for us. Again, you know the roster, you know what they're capable of. Let's go to our last team to talk about here in the underdogs of MSC 2025, and that is Trex. I don't know how to say their name, man. What? It's the NACT champions, man. They were formerly known as BTK. They won last May, 12th of May 2025. Went 4-2 against Area 77. Like, how do you say this name?
Some people call him Soul. Some people call him Saul. I like to call him Sate. Ooh. Sorry, this cat snuck into my room and
He's
That's
welcome.
okay, it's so cute.
Hello.
they're suddenly behind my
Very,
computer,
very
you know,
welcome.
taking out the cords, and I'll be
God.
So for Sate, oh,
Saint Ul. All right.
Until someone tells me a name, I'm going with it, and nobody seems to be able to tell me a name. So whoever owns that org, shout out, let us know. We won't mess it up in the MSC International. So yeah, I mean, it's, you know, it's once again, it's BTK. It's BTK, baby. It's SHUL, whatever you want to call them, but it's the players we all know. I think the tough thing about NA for this international to say is we had some issues going on in the beginning of the year, political and whatnot. We had some issues being able to play the game for a few days. They had to switch publishers, just a lot of little things, and essentially our qualifiers got shortened by a grand amount. We played over 8 teams played over 1 weekend.
Whew.
We had a week of qualifiers that weren't streamed between 64 teams. Just a couple restreamers picked up some of the games that they could. And then pretty much the meat and potatoes was 1 weekend, 8 teams. Let's run it. Death run, no double bracket, just straight to the grand finals. We did get to see some excitement from it. We got to see Area 77 make it to the grand finals. And BTK, though, still wins with a 4-2. It was a good grand finals, but Area 77 won the first 2 games, and I think this is going to be one of my major points, I think, to take away from this, is what we always see. I don't think that the skill level of our players is ever bad. I think we've shown that mechanically we're gifted. Mechanically, we can take it to a lot of places. We saw in the world, even though we didn't make it to top 8 in the world stage, we took some wins off of big teams like Onic PH. We were playing for a minute there for the first half of for the first half of group stage, whatever it was. We were playing like a Filipino team almost. We were lord dancing. We were macro. We were doing checking all the boxes. But you know what the downfall always is? It's draft. For me, at least, I think we get into some sort of problem, and even here in the grand finals, you see it. Everyone knows Joybaj is one of the best jawhead players NA will ever see, maybe the world will ever see. The dude is a monster. He's a Yaoi type player. He is a pick. I want to play Cho. I want to play Jot. I want to play things where I can throw you back to my team. And BTK lets that through twice. They get I get one? They get their asses kicked in game number 1. I know it goes 20 minutes, but still, the Jawhead destroys them. In game number 2, they let it through again. And then finally, they decide, okay, let's ban the Jawhead. And then they win every game after that, the moment they make that small tweak. The problem is in a group stage, on an international stage, you're not going to have 7 games to learn that. You need to be able to change your gears quickly. You need to be able to do it on the fly. You need to be able to preemptively do it before the game even gets to you and not have your ego involved. Whatever the problem is, maybe it's not ego, maybe it's this or that. But that is where I could see Sate Ul messing up. Right? That is where I could see them, falling a little bit. And I think where we see NA do well is when they're willing to get a little creative and outside of the box. So they need to not be too stuck into one form of draft. So we'll see. That's kind of my takeaway, I think, from it all right now.
I almost forgot that little snafu with the publisher and the whole app store kind of legalities thing happened. But yeah, no, that definitely is a historic time in NA MLBB. What's S8O's laning like? Trex, are you confident with that?
Laning phase, like early phase, or you mean like full game laning?
Man to man, yeah.
Man to man, I think man to man, I think everyone can kind of hold their own. I think one of the issues we see sometimes is Hoon's mid lane. One international, he's very aggressive. One international, he's very passive. So I would say mid lane. Shark too. Sometimes he's on fire. Sometimes he's not the guy who's on the opposite side of the river. But I think on the side lanes, I feel kind of comfortable with them. They can always at least man-to-man. Even it's the problem, I think, is when it comes to a bit more mid to late game, when it comes, they can make those small mistakes that we have issues with. But I think laning phase in general, they're comfortable. They're aggressive, at least in NA. I know always once we see them get to the international stage and they play against, the big dogs, they become a bit more passive, I feel like, which probably isn't a bad thing. But yeah, their laning phase is clean. Overall, their macro right now is clean. They can take it the distance, at least from what we've seen in NA, but that's always going to change once you're up against, S tier teams, A tier teams, etc., etc.
Yeah, coming up to MSC.
And
go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Yes. I wanted to add because it will be. I think it's more of a caution sign at this point. It'll be hard for LATAM, especially for Corinthians, if they want to go aggressive. Like for example, like NA, when they go aggressive, they can kind of like. But for LATAM during the grand finals, it was just like guns blazing, run and gun style from the start till the late, and I feel like that's kind of dangerous, especially if you're preparing to like face other teams from other regions also. So probably they really need to like rethink and reshape that.
One of the ways I think NA's representative, I'm getting tired of the saying the name, I'm not sure if it's right.
Okay.
One of the ways I think they could step up in MSC is through their jungler. It's been a while since we've seen Carlos, best player one on the global stage. Trex, he's the finals MVP, man. What do you think? Is Carlos ready?
Is he ready? That is the question on all of our minds. It's been the question all season. At least in NA, he did prove himself. He played great. He played amazing. His Hayabusa looked very clean. His Lucas looked clean. Joy, things like that. He was able to pull through. But I think his issue, I could be completely wrong, but from what it looks like from an outside person looking in, maybe the nerves get to him a bit. Maybe, there's some issues because we've seen him play amazing at home and then go over stage and be on the fanny and be missing hits, missing certain things. So, cat, sorry. But yeah, she's totally messed up. So yeah, I mean, that's probably my big worry. Hopefully he can show up. I think if he shows up and plays the way he needs to, and the meta doesn't completely change before MSC like we know it will. There goes my camera. Sorry guys.
It's real.
Like we know, I told you guys, like we know it will. There could be a problem, but as long as he does well, yeah, I think there's good possibilities.
There's a lot on the shoulders of.
That's our possible kink is best player right now. That's the possible kink in the armor, right?
Oh man,
that's the possible issue. If he does not show up, then we just got 4 BTK players.
I'd hate to put all of that on the weight of.
That's fair. Best player, I love you, dog.
but
I have to do what it has to. I'm just speaking logically, and Shark. I mean, listen, all of them need to show up because what happens is it's normally always one player that, and it might not be him. It could be Hoon. It could be Chicken. Probably not going to be Chicken, but But yeah, Zia needs to step up. Every time I hype Zia up so much, and then we get to the international stage and he starts playing passive. He's not the Zia we see in NA, you know? So they all just need to be comfortable and ready to go.
All right. To wrap up our discussion on these underdog teams out of MSC, I want you guys to step up for your specific regions, your representatives. All right. Corinthians for Vaye, Saint Ul for Trex. Optimistically, realistically, and from whatever part of your heart you think your teams will make it, how far in MSC? Can you give me each a position for your team? Like, how far do you think they're gonna make it from the 16th all the way down? Like, who wants to go first?
For Corinthians, I might say top 10, and if ever you guys wanna like stage, good luck, because it's not going to be a road, it's be a longer road than what you feel in Latam. So good luck, trying to keep improving and also learn from mistakes.
Awesome. Hopeful. A long shot to make it out of groups, but we'll see. Again, the hopes and dreams of MPL LATAM are on Corinthians' shoulders. Now let's get to North America. Saint Ul for Trex.
Oh, you can put like the numbers meme behind my head right now.
What is that?
Thinking, I'm like, okay, so no matter what.
Always Sunny in Philadelphia. They're just like,
Dude. Yeah, I'm doing like all the math right now. Like, you know, no matter what a Filipino and Indo team makes it to each group, no matter what a Malaysia team makes it to each group, could maybe beat a Malaysia team, probably not SRG. Maybe number 2 Indo team. We'll see. So I am so heartbroken. I don't want to say they're gonna make it to top 8 because I'm so worried about getting crushed once again. After last M series, it was like so perfect, and then we had the worst possible outro of M6, you know? So do I think they can do it? I think top 8 is a possibility. I think top 8 is a possibility, especially with the way groups are right now. The fact that it's a double elimination bracket. I definitely don't think that first round exit, I don't think they will get knocked out of the first spot in lower bracket. So I don't think they're 16 material. I don't think, what is that, 16 to 14 or whatever, 16 to 12 material. I think they can definitely get past that, because I do believe that they can beat teams. This is going to get clipped. I do believe that they can beat teams like Latam, like MENA. We saw them beat Turkey. I think there are some teams that we can definitely like give the works to. We've seen it happen. Even though we are an underdog team all the time, even though we are out of MPL region team all the time, for some reason, NA has the cards of some regions out there. The worry I see is going to lower bracket semis in group stage and facing against a team like Onyx PH that got knocked out by the Filipino rep. You know, they go up against a team that, but I say it all the time, we can't come into this, Cat, I'm gonna murder you. We go into this, we can't go into this thinking, oh, what group are we going to get in? Oh, what team are we going to face? We need to be ready to face every single team at all times. Do I think they can make the top 8? It's a possibility. If they make it to top 8, I'm guessing top 4. If they make it to top 8. So it's either like top 12 or top 4. That's my range for them. There's no in between. If they make it to top 8, NA is going to have a good year, or they're going to have a top 12 year. That's my guess for them right now.
I love it. A realist and an optimist all in one go. Thank you so much. That's Trex, and that's Vaye. And of course, our takes on the underdog teams out of MSC 2025. We hope you enjoyed Around the World for MLBB this time around. Thank you so much again for spending your time with us. We'll see you in the next episode. MLBB Around the World is powered by ASUS ROG. Are you looking to start your gaming journey with performance and style while still on a budget? You're looking for the ASUS Gaming V16. Game ready, game on. This thin and light budget gaming laptop in ASUS gaming line rocks an Intel Core 5 210H with GeForce RTX 4050 performance. Get work done and play your games on a 144Hz 16-inch IPS display for clear and immersive visuals. You can also check out the ASUS Gaming X16 that comes with a 13th gen Intel Core i5 with an RTX 30 series for more options. The ASUS Gaming line laptops are now available in ASUS concept stores near you.